Come along with me to Heroes and Villains, the Art of the Disney Costume at Birmingham Museum of Art, where we will get an up-close look at some of the beautiful costumes from Disney's live-action movies, starting with Cinderella. Cinderella is one of the most well-known fairy tales and has been retold in several different forms. One of the most iconic versions is Disney's 2015 film starring Lily James, who wore this beautiful blue dress. It was really cool to see the contrast between the iconic blue dress next to the golden ball gown worn by Anna Kendrick in 2014's Into the Woods. This version of Cinderella's dress was inspired by the willow tree in the film and had details that made it seem to flutter whenever she ran. The next version of Cinderella's ball gown was from the ABC series Once Upon a Time, worn by Jessie Schramm. And just as iconic as the 2015 shimmering blue ball gown, at least to me and every other 90s kid, is this sparkling baby blue peplum dress worn by Brandy in the Rodgers and Hammerstein's version of Cinderella that taught us impossible things are happening every day. And just as legendary as her ball gown are Cinderella's glass slippers, and this display showed the process of creating the ones used in the 2015 live-action film. Cinderella wasn't the only fashionable hero in her story. The gorgeous fairy godmother dress worn by Helena Bonham Carter was on display alongside the pink dress that her stepsisters destroyed. It is heroes and villains after all, and while Lady Tremaine's costumes look classy and elegant, they are contrasted by the gaudy costumes of her daughters, which were designed to be the 1980s version of 19th century fashion with bold and bright colors and mismatched patterns. To round out the Cinderella portion of the exhibit is Prince Kit's costume from the wedding scene. The next princess represented in the exhibit is Princess Jasmine. Her two-piece set was given gold detailing and embroidery for the 2019 live-action version. This was worn by Naomi Scott. And Aladdin's Prince Ali Ababwa costume, worn by Mina Masood. And then, of course, there's Jafar. Some of the costumes were posed into different stances their characters would have been in the movies, and I thought that was very well done. I really love this one of Peter Pan and Captain Hook from the 2023 film Peter Pan and Wendy. I like that Peter Pan was lifted up a little higher as if he were flying. This costume was right in the center of the second room of the exhibit, and the minute you walked in, it commanded your attention. It was so cool to see. Even though Angelina Jolie is a petite person, her costume seemed larger than life, very formidable and foreboding, just like Maleficent. The next princess costume is one that has gotten a lot of criticism since the movie came out in 2017. A lot of people did not love it in the movie or feel that it was grand enough, but it was absolutely stunning in person. I am of the opinion that the style didn't quite feel right for Belle in the movie, but it is a beautiful costume nonetheless, and Emma Watson looked beautiful in it. Before she was the Beast's beauty, she was just Belle. This is her village dress from the Beauty and the Beast 30th anniversary TV special. If you haven't seen it, go watch it on Disney+. The costume designer included Babayan script on the apron, spelling out the word Belle. This was to honor the actress Her, who has Filipino ancestry. Here's another one of those posed costume sets, Gaston and the Beast. And if you stand at the right angle, you can see Belle's costumes between them as they fight for her. This was another spot where the sizing of the costumes was really cool to see. Woof! Perhaps the most fashionable villain, Cruella Deville, who wanted to kidnap puppies and turn them into a fur coat. This costume was worn by Glenn Close in the 1996 film 101 Dalmatians. I smell children. Actually, I see more costumes. Costumes from one of the most highly requested sequels, Hocus Pocus 2. Sticking with the witch theme, this costume was worn by Meryl Streep in the film Into the Woods. And the Wicked Witch of the West costume, worn by Mila Kunis in Oz the Great and Powerful. And what would Oz be without their wizard? This is James Franco's Oscar Diggs costume from the same movie, Oz the Great and Powerful. And this glittering Glinda costume, worn by Michelle Williams. And from another movie sequel, this is Jack Frost, worn by Martin Short from The Santa Claus 3. And the hero to Jack Frost's villain, Scott Calvin, also known as Santa Claus. This costume was worn by Tim Allen. These next few costumes are all from the live-action Dumbo film from 2019. The costumes show the role of the characters, whether they were a behind-the-scenes circus worker or an actual circus performer. One thing about this exhibit that I found very interesting was getting to see how small or how large some of the costumes were and getting a sense of the size of the actors who played those roles. Danny DeVito's costume was much smaller than I imagined he would be. Of course, Emily Blunt's costume from Mary Poppins Returns in 2018 is practically perfect. Look at those shoes and that famous carpet bag, and her talking parrot head umbrella. I love how they contrasted Mary's bold and brightly colored wardrobe with Jack's more subdued colors. This costume was worn by Lin-Manuel Miranda. Many people worried that the film A Wrinkle in Time would not do justice to the book, but these costumes were amazingly detailed and filled with color and texture. Mrs. Whatsit, Mrs. Who, and Mrs. Which were absolutely stunning and worn by Reese Witherspoon, Oprah Winfrey, and Mindy Kaling. Don't lose your head over these next gorgeous costumes worn by Anne Hathaway and Helena Bonham Carter and Alice Through the Looking Glass. Another posed set that I thought was in the perfect stance for their characters. You can see all of these amazing costumes and several more at the Heroes and Villains Art of the Disney Costume Exhibition at the Birmingham Museum of Art through August 18th.